right in front of me. Some people climb to heights I've never seen. Too many falling down off their feet. These stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. Why you're the way you are. Why you're the way you are.
All right. Hey, everybody. This is Silverline one-on-one, and we're doing this with Roland Mann. We're also trying something new. We've got it on Instagram as well. So those folks on Instagram, unfortunately, if you have questions and stuff, you have to go to Facebook or Twitch or YouTube and ask questions. So, or the daughter who has just said that she may be able to answer questions too. So we're trying to do this all at the same time, which was a little bit new, but let's do some introductions. I'm BJ Mann. I am the CEO for Silverline. And we are interviewing the hubby, Roland Mann, who's the head honcho of Silverline. And so, but he's also my best friend, and I love him a whole lot. So this is going to be fun. And the other part of this is that he's always doing the interviewing. And so we thought that it was time to put him in the hot seat. But in the background, just so that you know, we have our son, Brett Mann, who is our streaming tech, as well as Brittany Mann, who is our social media marketing manager. And she's going to be fielding any questions that come through or comments, and we'll share that with us. And we also have the wonderful, the talented Tommy Florimonte,
the one and only.
who is going to be doing some amazing drawing for us while we're doing this stream and going live. So,
you can see
What you
when
can
they
see?
join on Instagram.
Yeah, you can.
I see Jess draws. It's too far away from me. Hey Jess, what's up? Jesse. Okay, sorry.
We
Jesse.
have our glasses on, but that's still
Yeah, but it's
far
all, you
away.
got the phone way over there.
I
for that.
do. So we're going to go ahead and dive into these questions. he actually has absolutely no clue what's going to be asked of him. And he had no idea that I actually reached out to many, many, many people to get these questions.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
you are in so much trouble.
I'm afraid.
So we're going to have fun. Oh, I wanted to point out too, I pulled out for tonight, if you can see them,
The
my
mouse
mouse
earrings.
earrings that I got from one of the other cat and mouse Kickstarters.
Yeah, made by Kevin Gallagly.
Yes, he did a
who-
fantastic
he's
job.
a colorist.
Yes.
Yep.
So
Merch store?
merch, no, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No, he getting ahead of the game.
Sorry. Sorry.
So here we go. We're
I'm so used to being the
in
one that,
control.
yeah.
Yeah.
Who?
You did?
No. Oh,
All right. So the first question
yes.
is, how many times a day do you stop and think that'd be a great comic story idea?
Oh my gosh. So many times. I think especially when and I don't do this a lot as much as I used to do, but when I get on social media and I see all of the I'm searching for words. I see all of the interesting emotions about all of the world's stuff. And that makes me think, that would be a cool comic. That could be a cool comic. That could be a cool comic.
Kind of just like with human trafficking that's in Cat and Mouse.
Yep.
And being able to have a story about that, so that.
And it's been exciting because here lately, and I don't know all the reasons. I haven't kind of gone down that path, but it's been exciting to see. There's been a lot of victories in the last month with human trafficking, because there's been a lot of kids rescued.
Yes.
And so, I mean, that's to me, that's a win. And that's, that's ultimately, that's what I hope to do in Cat and Mouse, but it's just a fiction story. So nobody in Cat and Mouse is real, but it can shine a light on
something very
the real thing. So a bunch of times a day, I have
and I can attest to that, because he will think of things, and if we're driving, he'll say, put this in your phone, put this in your phone.
Send me a text, send me an email. I've got notepads around my desk. I don't need any paper, so please don't send me any. But if we're out at a flea market or something like that, and I see a notepad for like an old binder for 25 cents, I'm like, ooh, I need this, right? Or the kids, I noticed that we still have some of their old
notebooks,
unused notebooks. And I dove into those recently and got some of the spiral things, and I think one of them had still some homework in it. I tore that all out. But yeah, I keep those at my desk. I keep those around, and I'm always writing notes on them.
Yeah. Cool. Next one. Why comics and not some other medium?
That's a good question. I think I love comics is what taught me to read, and I love to read. I love the imagination that stories have. I love the escape that it lets you have. I love that. Of course, I'm a big science fiction fan. I love that so much of what we do today, so much of our technology, has been inspired by stories. Now, I don't expect a man to put on a cape and fly, but Isaac Asimov wrote in the 1930s, might have been the 40s. In one of his stories, he had homeschooling with computers. And I know families now who put their kids down in front of a computer. This is the way they homeschool them.
Especially now.
Yeah, especially now with the plague.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's been so many things that have been that are put in stories that inspire people to go out and try. They're like, this is a really cool thing. I wonder if we can make that work. And then the stories, these fictional stories, inspire smart people to go out and try to make it happen. Why comics? I think comics because it's tooled with a visual that that I know that I react to. I love reading stories, but I also love seeing an interpretation of that story in visuals. I love to see. I'm a huge fan of art. Anyone who knows me knows that I can just sit there and study and look at artwork a lot. I love to look at penciled artwork. All the details that they do. I love to watch like watching Tommy Ink now. I love to watch him, like, how does he go through and make the decisions as to, like, okay, well, I'm going to emphasize this line, or I'm going to, do this to this line, or I'm going to change this up a little bit, because in the grand scheme of things, what happens is that, these are tiny little lines on a big page, and that when we look at it, it presents us one big picture. So I don't know. I love the visual aspect of comics.
And just for Instagram folks, we are, if you want to go and check out the artwork that Tommy Florimonte is doing and what Roland's talking about, you can go to our Facebook page, which is Silverline Comics, and you can also go to our YouTube channel as well as Twitch if you're on Twitch. So then you can actually see the artwork, and we're live there as well too. Now, you also mentioned with this question, you also shared a little bit about that's what got you started to read. Why don't you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I have a special place in my heart for comics, because it's essentially what taught me to read. I was not really interested as a kid in school. I was not really interested in reading so much. I mean, my mom read to me a bunch, but I just had no interest in it. I wanted to be outside playing. And it was the kind of thing where I would come home and I would go outside and, throw dirt clods at the cows next door or my sister. I wanted to be outside. I wanted to climb trees. I just wanted to be outside. And so, I began to fall behind my classmates. And, I attribute all this to my mom, because she was brilliant and looking for ways to get me interested in reading. And one day at the grocery, I used to go grocery shopping with my mom a lot. One day at the grocery store, I saw a comic book on the racks, because you used to buy comics at spinner racks, at 7-Elevens, and grocery stores. And like, kids do, I went, "Oh, Mom, I want it," and right there on the spot, Mom said, "I'll buy this for you on one condition." And of course, as a kid, you're like, "Oh, anything, Mom, I'll do anything if you'll get me this," right? And she said, "You have to read it and tell me about it." Okay. And so, so she bought it for me. I read it. It was the Avengers. And there was all of these characters in there that I had never seen before. I was introduced to Falcon and Vision and Scarlet Witch and all these characters that they were just, I kind of knew who Captain America was already. And he was on the cover, so that was part of what got my interest up. But and it ended with a cliffhanger. And so I'm like, what the heck? I got to know what happens next. And, Mom just started, I would ask her for another comic, and basically it was the same deal as last time. You got to read it and tell me what you read. And I think she finally stopped asking me to tell her, but you just, it was like, you got to read it. And I was hooked. And at that point in time, I would ask her, take me to a grocery store, and when I got into it, I can remember, because there were a lot of, if you've read any of my stuff, you know that I love cliffhangers. But there were a lot of cliffhangers at the time. And I can remember needing the next issue of Spider-Man and it not being at the convenience store that we always stopped at. And I asked my mom, I said, "Would you take me to another one?" And my mom was in the car. We were driving around as she was taking me to convenience stores. And I'm flipping through the racks looking for the next issue of Spider-Man. And I did finally find it. But which she didn't want anything, or she didn't need anything from the stores, but she took me, her young kid, around letting me go flip through the comic racks and find the next issue.
What moms will do.
That's right.
For their kiddos.
Yeah. So,
which, by the way, our children love comic books too. So, and we've got a 25-year-old and a 20-year-old, and they absolutely love it. I'll have to share a picture of when we went not too long ago, and all three of them were down the aisle, and the kids were sitting down on the floor looking at books, and Roland was standing up looking at books and going through them. So it's definitely a sweet sight to see.
Yeah.
John Martin said, science fiction can lead to science fact. It's the great thing about it.
I agree 100% with that. I think it's a great inspiration again, I think it's a great inspiration that from out of the mind, and it's kind of a writer's dream. I love the idea that I could think of something, and then some scientist who's much smarter than me can say, that's a cool idea.
Yeah.
I wonder if I can make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Amber Galilee said, hey, Mr. Mann.
Oh, cool. Hey, Amber.
And then Oven Reyes said,
Oh,
hello.
man. What's up?
And then the R2D2 for life said, a monster was created. Hashtag mom fault.
That's right. Yeah. What's up, R2D2 for life? Appreciate all the shares, by the way.
And then John Medic was impressed that you have an afternoon session.
Yeah,
John's still at work.
somebody didn't necessarily, but again, this was me doing the interview, so we had to do it the way that I wanted it set up.
John, just don't let anybody catch you watching.
While you're at work. So, all right, moving on. How in depth is your pre-writing process, and how much of a pantser versus a planner are you?
So I'm not really a pantser. I don't. I think stories have to be crafted, and so I'm very much a planner. I always have been. Well, I shouldn't say always, but since moving from rookie to professional, I've very much been a planner, and there are reasons behind that. Not everyone agrees, and I get that, but I don't. I believe that I need to know where the story is going in order for me to plant seeds and foreshadowing in the story. If I don't know where the story is going, then I can't. I'm just literally flying by the seat of my pants. And so, so particularly for comics, I have to plan where I'm going, because one of the things I really do like to do is I like to be able to put something in a story, and then whether it's the next issue or later that issue, get to a point where the reader goes, oh, I saw that on page 2. Yeah. And you can't really do that effectively if you're pantsing. I don't think. My brain is not wired that way to do it effectively by pantsing. So I have to plan it out. And because of that, I do a lot of pre-writing, a lot of pre-work. Now, I should probably evaluate that a little bit, in that I don't write really lengthy story Bibles. I know that there are some out there who give you their entire history and things like that. I think there are things that like for Cat and Mouse, there are things that I know about Brett, the things that I know about Cat, that I need to know right now that affects the story. Things that the readers don't know yet. I'll tell you one, just so you know, and this is only for you who are paying attention. Brett is the son of a police officer who was killed in duty. And so he was raised by a single mom. That's not come out in the story yet, but I need that to help me have Brett make the effective decisions the way that person I think would make them. I don't go in depth. Like you asked me, how was it happened? I don't know all the details about that, because I don't even need to know that yet, right? And so once I get to that point of the story where it's like, oh, you know what? I kind of need to know this thing now. Then I'll go back and I will develop that. And part of the reason I do that is I think is that if you write everything out, if you write a full encyclopedic entry of your character, you don't really have any room to change. And this is where it's not really pantser, but as I'm writing the story, and writers know this, your characters begin to tell the stories for you. They begin to, because if you develop good characters, you begin to put them into situations, and oh, this is exactly how this character would react. And fans of things get that way too. I mean, you get to a point where Spider-Man so well, you see something happen, you're like, nah, Spider-Man wouldn't do that. Just because Spider-Man, what's going on. And I think that fans of properties like that can do that. But writers are the same way, and I think the characters speak to you. But if you've got them so developed that you don't have any room to make a decision later on in the story, then I think that kind of puts you in a box a little bit. And so I do considerable pre-writing, but not as much probably as people might expect me to.
And I can actually attest to that because, I mean, just a little bit of history as far as us being together. We dated 7 years before we were married. And so it was the summer of my senior year of high school. He was already writing things, and he would actually have me read what he was writing, give him feedback, things like that. So I can tell you that he does organize things, and he's evolved over time, just like he was saying, as far as before, getting into the professional industry side of things and seeing how things work. But also as an individual and as a writer, it's really cool. And I feel
Don't do that.
let's just do that on live. But I feel very fortunate and blessed to be able to see that evolve, because I'm invested in the characters too, and it's like they've come to life, and they come to life for me because I'm reading it, and I'm listening to him and how he's creating them and adding other elements of their life together too. So it's really cool. It's really cool from my perspective.
So when you said about the Brett's daddy issues, R2D2 for life said #no spoilers.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's not a spoiler. It doesn't. Yeah, you're good. Don't worry.
Jesse Hansen said, keep rocking and representing y'all. And then Will Keaton said, first time I'm able to catch a live.
Yeah, hey, Will. Jesse, representing. Throwing up some gang signs. What? That's not gang signs? Oh, yeah.
Let's not.
Let's do.
Okay. So the next one, what's the best compliment you have ever received from another professional writer?
Ooh. Best compliment I've ever received from another professional writer. I don't know the answer to that. I don't think. Obviously.
Kind of put on the spot.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm having to think about it, and I'm like, well, I don't want to misattribute anybody. I know that, and of course, you kind of asked for them. I'll tell you one of the things early that came from a professional that really made a big deal to me. And I'm trying to think of anything beyond that. I'm having problems, but I know that when Cat and Mouse was first published, word got back to me that Kim Yale and John Ostrander were fans of Cat and Mouse, and they began to tell other professionals that they should go read Cat and Mouse. Marv Wolfman, who everybody should, if you're in comics, you should know who Marv Wolfman is. Marv Wolfman told me that he was one of those, and he was a fan of the book. That's not them telling me exactly that. Oh, I love what you did, but as a comic writer, that's a good feeling to know that there are other professionals out there who said, "Oh, I found your book quite by accident, and I told others to go read it." And that was, that was probably I'd only been writing about 2 years at that point in time when I learned that. And so yeah, that was. I mean, anytime someone tells you, "I enjoyed your story," or this was fun, or "I can't wait for the next issue," that's a bit of an ego boost for a writer.
It's a big deal.
I've been very fortunate, and you can look on screen to see I've been very fortunate to work with a lot of really super talented artists. These guys just some gorgeous eye candy that I could just sit and look at for hours. And so I've been very blessed throughout my entire career to have a lot of really good artists. So and I know that, you know, and I know that people will often buy comics simply for I do it. I buy a comic simply because, you know, oh, there's this artist that's attached. But you know, I think what means more to me though than necessarily another professional is to have a friend tell me, you know, I enjoyed your work. It's like, oh, I read this and I like that. You know, a friend who's, you know, they get nothing from telling me, you know.
Right.
But yeah, so I like, I mean, I like hearing anyone tell me that they have enjoyed it and they can't wait I think to hear someone say I can't wait for the next issue is some of the sweetest words that I could ever
exciting.
hear.
Yeah. Because I get to see the excitement too. So I get to see a lot of what everybody else doesn't get to see. So, and I know how passionate he is about his work, and that means world to him.
So Oven said, "Don't be too easy on him, questions wise."
Okay,
of course.
But then Amber just said, "It's nice to see the woman who isn't a fan of him having comic boxes in his Zoom backgrounds. We heard a little about that in class."
Yeah. Amber, you're not supposed to talk about that.
Oh, well, Amber, if you've seen some of the other lives with that doggone green screen thing in the background, I want him to show off his comics. So we've got new comic boxes. He just needs to put them in there. And then what he can do is he can show off all the different kinds of comics that he has, which I want him to do. So tell me more.
No.
Rita Lee said,
Hey, Rita.
"Hi, hey guys, great to see you." John Medic said, "What happens in class stays in class."
That's right.
He also said Silverline would be like the worst thing ever. We'd all get our lunch money taken every day.
That's true.
Rita, we miss you. We miss the Florence area.
We sure do.
Definitely one of the highlights of where we've been and where our kids went to school, and so absolutely. So thanks for joining us.
Amber said, "Get it done, Mr. Man."
Thank you. So I'm not the only one. Others can get after him too.
You may have to mute her.
No.
Not you, Amber. She keeps causing trouble.
No, she's not. She's
John
doing
Martin
great.
says that's not true, Roland.
What's not true?
I don't know.
Oh, that's the only thing about the comments is like, okay, wait a minute.
Well, I'm trying to remember what you just said. And Rita said, "Miss you too."
All right. So next, this is a long one.
Okay.
So it's got.
Where did you get all these questions? That's what I want to know.
I will share my secret later on. Let's see if you can be bribed, or if I can be bribed. That's the way it should be. I can be bribed. Huh?
Oh, the gang comment. Yeah, I know, John. John Medic, you need to see John Martin before you say we'd have our lunch money taken. I don't think John Martin would allow that.
All right. Was it always writing that you aspired to, or did you at any point consider comic art as well? And what about screenwriting? Was that ever a consideration? So if I need to repeat any of it, you just let me know.
No. I'll answer the last part first because I was never really interested in screenwriting. I mean, there's always kind of the possibility, especially when you see a movie or you watch a movie, you're like, well, I could have done better than that, right? I mean, there's always kind of the writer in you that when you read something, or when you see something, you're like, I could have done better than that. But I never really had the interest in screenwriting simply because I heard so many stories already about when you write a script for a screenplay, it can be changed a bazillion ways, and I'm not interested in that. I think I have
unless it's your own work,
huh?
That you have control over.
Well, if I'm the one making the changes, yeah, but in film it doesn't often work that way, and you write a screenplay, and then a director gets a hold of it, and all these other people get a hold of it, and then this, and then everyone has to put their little finger in the pie, and things get changed. And I am less interested in that because there's so many hands in it. In comics, obviously I always listen to my penciler. I listen to my penciler probably more than the inker and the colorist, because the penciler is the one who is kind of the director, right? Obviously I want to know what my inker and my colorist want to do, because I part of my job, I think, is not just to entertain, but I want to keep my collaborators, my artists, I want to keep them happy. If Tommy says, I hate inking elephants, and I put elephants in all my stories, then I know that this is going to be something that Tommy doesn't like to do. So I try to be very aware of what my artists do and don't like. Why are you laughing, Brittany, man?
Tommy's facial expression.
Oh.
And he was thinking, and then he like threw his pen.
Yeah, it's not unusual that Tommy will write notes on that when he's inking. He'll write notes. So there's that about screenwriting. I mean, obviously, yeah. I mean, as any kind of writer, sure, I've got a little interest in it. But that wasn't really something that I set out to do or had an interest in. As far as art, yes. When I was in high school, I didn't really know how comics were done, and yes, I saw them, I read them, but I didn't know. It was what I like to tell people. The comic book fairy showed up, and then I bought my comic. And so I knew that I liked them. I knew that I wanted to make them. So I started writing and drawing them. As I got a little bit older, as I got into college, I began to realize, oh, there's a team of people. There's a writer, there's a penciler, there's an inker. You may recall, I recruited you to do letters, right? I said, why don't you letter? Because there's a team and you can letter this. And I recruited one of my former roommates, Tim Miller, to color. Like, here, Tim, color these, right? And because I was still trying to figure out how the process worked. And I was the only one I knew who wanted to make comics. I knew people who liked comics, but I didn't know other people who wanted to make them. And so I kind of felt like I had to do it all. And so I was trying to and it wasn't until I got into junior college that I met an artist who expressed interest in doing comics. And so we talked a little bit, and then that didn't work out. And then when I got into Southern, then I started meeting other people. And of course, my longtime friend Barry Gregory, he and I used to make comics. I mean, going back to 6th and 7th grade, we would draw our comics on notebook paper. Half the time they were traced. And he had a superhero team and I had a superhero team. We even had a crossover between them. I still have those, and occasionally I mention those, and I threaten to show them, and then Barry says, if you want to remain my friend, you won't. so they remain unseen because I like to be friends with Barry.
And I can also share with you, there was a time where actually Roland had shared with me, because it's like, what do I do? Do I write, or should I focus on drawing? And I just remember me saying, what are you right now? What are you the most passionate about? And it was story writing, and it very gifted, very, very gifted in that already, and with his words and everything. So I remember that being at the community college when we were there together, and him trying to decide, because originally he was going into computer science. And so that whole conversation evolved from computer science to writing. Do I draw? That kind of thing. And it ended up being writing. So, which I think was really good. I do anyway. And as far as the screenwriting, I don't know if y'all can hear Brittany.
No, Barb just said, we can't hear Brittany. I was like, I'm sorry, my dad's too loud.
Because
I can always do this.
No, that's fine.
Because not to give away anything, but there's something that Brittany has been after her dad about. And so something's in the works on the burner. I don't want to give too much away. On the burner that Brittany is kind of spearheading right now, and getting her dad interested in. And
It's just a matter of hours for me.
yeah, there's only so much time in the day as far as what Roland does. His passion is teaching students and teaching them this craft, because it's something that he loves 100%. But then it's the creation of the books, and you're working full-time teaching, and basically he's working 2 full-time jobs, because he's also doing the Silverline side of things and coordinating with other people and finding new talent. And that's one of, I will say, from my perspective, what I see, that's one of his major gifts, is being able to find talent, especially young talent that he sees that potential, and he wants to encourage that, mentor that, and give those particular individuals opportunities to be able to have more exposure, things like that. So he's extremely talented in that. But with this particular project that's happening, I know I'm not giving you a whole lot of information, I'm so sorry, but it's really exciting. And so Brittany is on the side of her career is in film. BJ, I agree. So he's writing. Oh, thanks, Tommy. But Brittany is in the film industry and music industry, and you're so funny. He's writing, I agree, in the balloon. Oh, now it's repeat. It's on repeat. But Brittany has those gifts and those talents and those resources. So maybe something in the very future for that person who asked that question. So we'll see. Did you want to share something, baby?
So Amber said, after our lettering assignment in class, let me tell you, it's hard work.
Yeah, it is.
And then John Medic has a question. He said, Mr. Mann, sir, when you first met your first Silverline collaborators, how do I even say collaborators? Good grief, English. He said, Destiny, what was your current project on campus that day? Visiting different dorm rooms?
Oh, he lobbed. Yeah, he lobbed me up a softball there. Good question, John. Yeah, so yeah, the way I met Stephen Butler and Mitch Bird on the campus of Southern Mississippi is that you were running for homecoming court as an independent. And anyone who's been to a major college know that the sorority and the fraternity systems pretty much run the campuses. And there was a little independent movement at the time on our campus, where a lot of the dorms got kind of excited about being involved on the campus. And so I can't remember.
And for you Res Life folks, he's saying dorm. I say Res Life, residence halls. So just so you know that, because I know that there's some of you out there and you're going, BJ.
Yeah, but I told you a long time ago.
My career has been in student affairs, so it's been residence halls. I know.
I
the
told
whole
y'all did the wrong thing with it. You should have embraced that and made it your term. You did the wrong thing by trying to call them halls. You should have embraced the term dorms and made them yours. Change the meaning. Anyway, so I can't remember what classification you were. Were you a sophomore or a junior?
No, I think I was a junior.
Okay, so anyway,
I think I was a junior at the time.
So there was a freshman, there was a sophomore, there was a junior, and there was senior girls. All of them running for homecoming court, and you had to have escorts to get into because this was when we still had male dorms and female dorms, and you had to have escort to get into the dorms. And so what we would do is we would go into the male dorms, go into the lobbies, and y'all would give your spiel. I'm so-and-so, I do this, I'm from here, please vote for me for homecoming court. And each of the freshmen, sophomore, junior, senior, every one of the girls did it. And I can remember standing there in one of the places, and there was this huge piece of art on the wall, and I'm standing there looking at it while y'all are spieling, and I'm like, I don't know who that is. And it was a character that Stephen Butler had created and painted in this big, I don't know, 4 foot by 2 foot piece of plywood or something like that. And after y'all were done, I asked Stephen, I said, do you know who did this? And he goes, I did this. And I'm like, wow, this is really good. I'm like, I don't recognize this character. Who is this? And he goes, "Oh, that's a character that I created." I'm like, "Oh, that's really cool." I said, "Well, I want to work in comic books." And he goes, "I want to work in comic books." And I'm like, "Really?" And I said, "Wow, we should talk. Have you submitted?" "Oh, I've submitted all. Me too. I've submitted lots of stuff." And so I got his. What are you laughing at? Are you laughing at my story?
You keep going, baby.
So I hear her laughing. And so I got his telephone number, and then we finished doing the tour of the dorms. And then I called Steven the next day, and then went back and met with him, and that's kind of how that was born. But yes, we were campaigning for homecoming court,
John.
and I was an escort.
As long as you're my escort, baby. Any other questions, sweetheart, that's coming up? No. Okay. All right. So moving on. What was it about comics that made it stick with you to create your own? What makes it still be such a place in your life?
Well, I think part of it goes back to it's the thing that got me into reading. It's the earliest readings I can really remember. And I know that I know Mom made me read, and I know Mom read to me, and I still remember some of those early kid stories and things like that. But when I think about what I remember reading in high school, my earliest memories are all of comic books, and it's the comic books that led me to read other stuff. Why did that stick with me? I don't know, other than the fact that I think it's visual, and comics probably came to me at the right time in my life, and it was what I needed when I needed it.
I think it can be just seen also as, how everybody has that particular thing that gives them joy. And there was a period of time that Roland had done comics, and then all of a sudden he stopped, and he stopped for quite some time. And I'll share on my end, because as a young couple and having young children, I'm looking at it as, you're not bringing in as much income, because this is independent comics too, and that there needs to be more income coming into the house. And but then there's also other things that happened in our life that made that decision happen too. And there's this book called Dream Giver, and a friend had recommended it for me, and I read it, and it talks about border bullies. And the border bully, just to give you an idea, is someone that's not encouraging another person. And after I read that book, I was like, oh man, because that's one of his gifts. That's one of his talents. That's one of the things that gives him joy. And here I was looking at it, sure, as far as our family, but I wasn't looking at the big picture. And I recognized that. And that was one of the things that I had to do, was come back and share with him, is that this is what gives you joy. And again, there's a lot of other factors, not to go into that, but a lot of other factors that had occurred, that once he started back into comics, you could see.
don't hit me. You're the one getting emotional.
You could see that joy just come flooding back. And that was so cool to see. And that made my heart happy to see that. So there was those hills and those valleys that we were going throughout our life together with comics. But to me, I think it's sticking with it. It's something he's great at doing. He loves to do, he's passionate about, and it gives him joy. And so that makes me happy too. And so, yeah, there's a lot behind the scenes that you just don't know about creators and how they make decisions to do what they do. So anyway, just to share a little bit from that side of things too.
Jesse Hansen said the world is a better place now that Roland Mann is back in the industry of his passion.
Oh, Jesse.
Thank you.
Big bro hugs to you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, comics do give me joy. They do. I get great joy out of making them. I get great joy out of seeing others have fun. And I think this is one of the things I like so much about Silverline.
Yeah.
There's a we've assembled a really good,
Awesome group of people.
not just
Oh my
talented,
gosh.
but just a group
Across the
of
board.
good people
Yep.
who have fun
Yes.
and as a joy in making comics. And I like to be surrounded by people like that. I
Yep.
like to be surrounded by people who have fun. Um, that's I know that's what I like doing, and I know that that's what I want to be surrounded by.
Yeah. All right. What would you like others to understand about your editing process? Because many hats, he wears many hats, has always worn many hats, but with Silverline, he does, and editing is one of those.
Yeah, I think that's a broad question, and I'm not 100% sure how to answer that, except to say that for me, it's all about the story. And I think that there are times that I read things that I'm like, okay, so what? And I get to the end of it, I'm like, so what? That didn't mean anything, I think that for me in editing, I look for what is this story, and you can kind of be boiled down to in okay, here's the protagonist. What does the protagonist want? And of course, the protagonist they have obstacles because that's what makes it interesting. If it was easy, that would be boring. And so they have to have obstacles that they then have to, work to overcome. And then they either achieve the goal or they don't. And particularly in comics, in ongoing comics, we often see the protagonists fail, right? They'll fail once and they might fail a second time, but then ultimately, because they're the heroes and because that's what we like, they will ultimately succeed. My editing process is I when someone says I have a script for you to read it, I am really not interested in that, because in comics, a script is just a script. I would rather read your one-page plot summary.
Mm-hmm.
If you really want me to help you, comic scripts, and this is what frustrates some writers is that there's so many different ways. There's really not a wrong and a right way to do a comic strip. The main thing is to be consistent. Whatever way you decide you're going to do it that way throughout, right? But there's no real one way. Like in film, you got to do it like this. This is exactly the way you write your film script, right? Mm-hmm. In comics, it's not. It's kind of whatever works for you and whatever works for the artist. Now, I have ways that I like to do it, of course, but so do other writers. I always try to find out, going back to my artist, I always try to find out what they prefer, and then I'll try to cater it to them. But I mean, if as far as editing goes, if you really want my help, you'll give me a one-page summary of your story that says, here's my hero, here's what the situation is, here's what the problem has been introduced, here's what the hero then has to do, here's what the conflict is, and then I can say, well, here you can work on these. And then you can take that and write a script. And however you write the script is totally up to you. A lot of people think of editing as proofreading. I have very little interest in proofreading. Mm-hmm. I think there's very little. There's so many people who can proofread. I can do it, but I have very little interest in it. And so if your idea of editing process is that, then no. But I look for story, and if it's multiple issues, because we're talking comics, right? If it's going to cover multiple issues, I look for the cliffhangers, because if you're going to tell a 4-issue story, I want a cliffhanger on issues 1, 2, and 3, right? Because I want to end that first issue to make, not just my story, but someone else's story. I want to end that first issue to make readers go, oh crap! It's like if we were still buying them off the racks, I would want them to go, no, I gotta wait 30 days and then I gotta search for all the convenience stores around to find it. Yeah. I want to leave them anticipating and desiring that next thing, and I look for those. I look for cliffhangers.
And that that's what I would do with him. He would give me what he had written, and I'd read it, and I'm like, okay, when are you going to have the other part?
The next one? Yeah. I remember that.
Like, how much longer is it going to take you to give me what the next one? Because I'm ready for it. And I literally would remind him, it's like, okay, how much longer?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Jesse said, "Oh, to one day be part of Silverline." Smiley face. Nothing but respect and love for y'all.
Aw, thank
It's
you.
coming.
And then Brian Land said, "Watching now on YouTube." And
So Brian,
Barb said, "As someone who got out of comics for 15 years for the same reason BJ mentioned, I agree that the joy has returned in the last few years after I returned."
Ah,
and that also
Barb.
makes my heart happy.
yes. Very much so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Makes my heart happy, Barb. Thank you.
So the next question is, what do you look for in artist page sample submissions?
Storytelling. I look for storytelling. Ultimately, every artist has a different style, and an artist can't change their well, I shouldn't say they can't. I wouldn't want an artist to change their style so much for a submission. I know many do. If they want to work for Marvel or DC, they try to cater it to a Marvel or DC style. I totally get that. I understand that. The biggest mistake that people can do when sending me stuff to look at is send me pinups. I don't care. I don't any artist with the internet can do a pinup. They can look on the internet and say, I'm going to draw this. That's not a very difficult thing for an artist with a little bit of talent to do. Pinups, covers, those kind of things. There's a lot of artists who just want to do pinups. I'm not interested in that. Comics to me are about storytelling, and I need to, when I'm looking at comics, I'm looking for someone who knows how to tell a story. They know how to, establishing shots. Establishing shots are so I see so many comics, and I think, I don't know where I'm at. Where are we? Now some of that is the fault of the writer. I will say some of it, the writers neglect to put that in there, and so artists don't draw them because the writer doesn't ask for it. But artists who know will sometimes go ahead and do it anyway. They're like, yeah, well, it says we're at the mall, so I'm just going to draw a little panel up here of the mall, right? And they know to do that. But the other thing is, if you're looking at a page, I got to be able to know what the story is without words, right? Now, I want words in my comics because comics without words are picture books, and I stopped reading picture books when I was 4, so I want words in them. But when I look at a page of sequential art, I need to be able to tell what the story is going from here to here. What are the characters? What are the characters doing? How are they moving? How are they interacting? What spatial stuff are they in? Now, obviously, I don't know what they're saying without words, but I need to know what's kind of going on. Yeah. Camera movement, different angles. If you look at DC in the 1950s, they were pretty boring because they were all like from here to here, and they were all the same shots. It's part of what made Marvel so popular in the 1960s when Jack Kirby came along, because they were up shots and down shots, and just the characters just leaping angles, off the panels, and the angles. And artists need to know how to move the camera so that it's both exciting and effective storytelling. And this is where a little bit of cinematography comes in, because they need to know a little bit of that, how cameras work. Now, comics and film are two different things, but they need to know a little bit of that in putting their panels together. But yeah, for me, storytelling is what I look for the most.
Cool. What is your favorite moment as a comic book editor, writer, outside of Silverline work?
Outside of Silverline work. So my favorite moment. So it's a writer. Well, there are a couple I can think of. It was a lot of fun to do the Lita Ford one shot with Lita Ford.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, and
I got to meet her too.
Yeah, and then to sign autographs right beside
Right
her
beside
at
her.
San Diego. That was a lot of fun. Probably one of the projects that I loved working on the most though was Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
That's one of those that I think Boom still has the rights to Planet of the Apes. And Ross Ritchie, if you're listening, take those and reprint those. I want that in a trade. They're just not available anymore. I buy them when I can find them in the cheap boxes to take with me. Folks ask me about them frequently, but I just, I don't personally have the rights to make them, so I can't.
I know I was really excited when he was doing Planet of the Apes. That
Yeah.
was just one of the coolest things ever at that time and moment.
Yeah, and it's actually and oddly enough, that's the only project that's ever gotten me into any kind of literary books. It's people talking about my story. Well, not my, but it's talking about the greater Planet of the Apes,
Yeah.
and I'm just a little section in there because I'm part of the apes story.
Yeah.
So that was probably some of my favorite stuff as a writer. As an editor, probably it's both frustration and I got to work with Steve Gerber. Now I got to work with a lot of really talented writers. Englehart was always one of my favorite writers as a kid. And he probably hates to hear me say that. You were a favorite as a kid, right? I loved his Avenger stories. And so when I then became an editor, to get to work with Steve Englehart was very much a joy. But probably the most frustrating and the most rewarding was being able to edit Steve Gerber, because Gerber is probably one of the most naturally gifted, talented writers I've ever had the opportunity to work with. I still think a lot of his work is undervalued because sometimes you read it and you're like, huh? You don't quite get it, but he's a very good writer. So probably that.
Okay.
Was there another part to that?
Nope, you got it. Yeah, you got it. Both the editor and the writer side of it. What is your least favorite memory as a comic book writer, editor, outside of Silverline work and outside of Malibu's jet setting from Marvel, leading to mass layoffs?
It was least favorite, right?
Yes, your least favorite memory of
So,
comic book writer, editor.
So probably my least favorite as a writer was that period of time when I was selling a lot of stories to Malibu. I had a very good relationship with both Chris Ulm and Tom Mason, and they claimed to really like what I was doing, probably because I got it in on time. And I had a really good relationship with them. I became an editor, so I had a really good relationship with them. But probably one of my least favorite times is when I reached a point when they stopped buying stories from me. And that was a hard, I didn't know at first. I learned later why they did it, and it made sense, right? But at the time, I'm like, why aren't they buying stories from me? What have I done? What are my stories suck now? That was that wasn't a very favorite time of mine as a writer. And I will tell you one of I can't mention I did a project that I was excited about as a writer, and the project this is outside of Silverline, and the project was I was excited about it. I did it's a licensed property, and they assigned an artist to it. And well, before they assigned an artist to it, I was like, okay, what are we going to do? Let's get somebody exciting, and they assigned an artist to it. And I'm like, oh no, please, anybody but this artist. And I did not like the artist at all. I still look back at the artwork today and go, there has so many options that we could have had. And I look back at that and say, I still am kind of wish that they had chosen a better artist. Then there's also probably something I was very excited about was I had done an adaptation of a novel for Malibu, and I had written all 6 issues. It was going to be a 6-issue adaptation, and I had written all 6 issues. And they got an artist that was a good artist that I like. I'm like, yeah, this is going to be a really good artist. He turned the work in, and it looked like crap. Nice. And what had happened is he told them he was experimenting with his style. And they're like, no, don't experiment with your style on this book. No. And ultimately, I want to say he did 1 issue, and then they just decided to cancel the project. Oh, so man. That's never a lot of work. I wrote 6 issues. Yeah. So, and then the worst experience as an editor, outside of Silverline and outside of Marvel canceling everybody, probably my experience. I tell people this. Probably my experiences with Walter Koenig. I was Walter Koenig's editor on. And for those of you who don't know Walter Koenig, he's Chekhov in the original Star Trek, and he did a book called Raver at Malibu, and I was the editor. And Dan and David Day did the artwork. Great, really good artwork for this for the book. Looked good. But the story was just like, what the heck is going on? So I was trying to be an editor to Walter Koenig. And ultimately what happened is I made him mad because I was trying to help him with his story. And he got so mad at me that he called the editor-in-chief and said, I want this guy fired. And Chris Ulm, who was the editor-in-chief, came to me and said, what did you do to make Walter Koenig mad? And I'm like, I just told him to fix it. Yeah, I just told him he needed to fix this stuff here. He goes, well, he wants you fired off the book. I'm like, I know, he told me. And he goes,
he actually told you?
Oh, yeah, he told me, yeah. And there's a little side note to that, too. Brittany might remember. So what ended up happening, and this is kind of funny, Walter was, from what I know, probably never knew this, is they told Walter that they were going to, obviously they weren't going to fire me, but they told Walter that they removed me from the project and that Walter was going to call Hank, right? So what happened is Walter called Hank. Hank took down notes, and he'd walk over to me and say, Walter wants you to do these things. And I'm like, no, Walter wants you to do those things. And he said, yeah, but you're doing them, right? And so Hank was simply the go. I remained the editor in duties, but as far as Walter Koenig was concerned, he wasn't dealing with me anymore. He was dealing with Hank. So that was a very frustrating time. And the little side note to that, Brittany and I went to Wizard World in Nashville about 2015. It's about 2000, huh? Yeah, 2015. Walter Koenig was there. And it was no one went to the show. It was a slow show, and there just weren't very many attendees there. And so I'm like, I was walking around, and were you with me when I went up to talk to him? I don't think so either. But he was there, and I'm like, do I say something to him? Do I not say something to him? And so I decided, well, what the heck? It's been 20 years, right? So I walked up to him, hey, Walter, how you doing? My name is Roland Mann. And he goes, oh, you're that editor I fired. And I went, yeah, that's me.
Oh my goodness.
But he said, I gotta, I'll give a lot to you. You had the guts to come up and say something to me. How you doing? He shook my hand, and he was real nice.
Good.
Yeah, he was real nice. But it was just funny the first words out of his mouth were, you're that editor I fired. Yeah. It's like, well, you didn't really fire me, but okay, whatever.
So you had talked a little bit about it being discouraging that you weren't getting more from Malibu, the stories and stuff. Why don't you elaborate on that part of it to be able to fill in the gap there so everybody knows why that was actually occurring?
Yeah, so Malibu was actually already in the process, or Malibu had shifted into the process. They wanted to, when I was doing work for them, they were very, very small. And they had already got the ideas that they wanted to build an in-house staff. And so part of what they were trying to do was hire more editors, they wanted some in-house writers, which never really happened, but they built a bullpen. Like they kind of modeled it after early Marvel. So they wanted to have a bullpen that was there to make art corrections and do things like that. And we had in-house letters. And so they were cutting back on everybody. It wasn't just, oh, don't hire Roland anymore. But they were cutting back on everybody with the intent of doing that in-house. Ultimately, they hired me as an editor to go out there. But at the time, I didn't realize that that's what was going on.
Yeah, which was another exciting time. I guess that was one of the biggest exciting times was when that had occurred, because here we are. We had lived in a small town, and I was working for a small school, and then decided that I was going to go back to get my master's degree. And so went to work on that, living in the residence halls. And Roland has his office set up, and he's freelance writing and doing a lot of this stuff for Malibu. And after the first year, we then relocated again because that particular residence hall was needing renovation. So we moved to another one. Well, while we were living there, that's when he got the amazing offer of being able to work for Malibu, which, though, I wasn't through with graduate school. And that meant him having to move out to California before I was finished and without me. And, we had only been married a couple of years. And so, yeah, it's just, there's just a lot that we've gone through, that he's gone through on this journey of comic books and writing and that kind of thing. But we knew that this was too good to pass up, because it was an awesome job offer. And so, needless to say, that's when we moved him out there first, and then after I graduated, then followed him out there. And that's when he worked at to Malibu, and then Marvel Comics, and I worked at Cal State Northridge for a period of time. So
I still remember driving out there to in my Celica. Drove all the way from Mississippi to California in like 3 days, I think.
Yeah. So the journey, but it was fun.
It was fun.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
And the crew, and I think for me, just looking back on it, is just how the atmosphere and the family environment and teamwork that we want with Silverline, and that we feel like we have right now. I could see that with Malibu.
Yeah.
It was the coolest thing, just walking into the offices and everybody just greeting you. And it was such a nice family environment. And we had picnics together, softball. I mean, we did things together. And that is something that I will always, those memories I'll always treasure. And especially with Brittany having been born out there, and then the huge massive baby shower that they did for us was absolutely out of this world, and really cool.
Well, and that's why I like that there are a handful of ex-Malibu folks that are also doing, because I don't hear too many negative things about Malibu from the people who worked at Malibu. Most people that I know have very positive experiences. And so it makes me happy. It makes me feel good that there are others who kind of want to rekindle, whether it's nostalgia or sentimentality, I don't know. But, just recently, Roberta Conroy has just kind of said, yes, this is, I want to do this. And so she's coloring Cat and Mouse now, and great job. Joined us on our stream. So it's that makes me happy, because I think, or at least I tell myself anyway, that they're seeing in Silverline what we saw in Malibu, and not to hold Malibu up as we want to be Malibu, but there's just a lot of positives about that
there's a lot to be said about that. Definitely.
I want to try to capture the positives, maybe not the negatives, but capture the positives and do that with Silverline.
Exactly. So the next one is it's kind of just some feedback for you along with then the question. It says, Roland has been an amazing comic book mentor to me for decades, and how he's teaching and mentoring many talented folks as a professional educator. Who, if any, was Roland's mentor most positively impacted influence?
I didn't have a comics mentor so much. But I will tell you someone who was very good to me when I first started breaking into comics. And you may not be thinking of them, but as soon as I say them, I know you'll know. But very, very early in my career, I met Lorraine Haynes and Dave Dorman.
Yeah.
And Lorraine she just gushed all over us as what we were doing. She was super nice, super friendly,
So sweet.
always offering encouragement. She would criticize you when you needed to be criticized, but she didn't do it in a way that says, I hate you, you're stupid.
Constructive.
It was very constructive. It was criticism in the way that you're doing this wrong, let me help you do it right. She was the only person, and I said this the other day, the only company that still owes me money is Kamiko. And they just never paid me for a script that I wrote. And she's the one who warned me, don't work for them, don't work for them, don't work for them. And when it all happened, she's like, I told you so. Yeah. And so Lorraine she sent me mail. She supported me. She, put me in contact with other people. Dave Dorman as well. Matter of fact, the last time I was at San Diego, which I need to follow up with him, Dave's like, hey, you need anything, just holler at me. And I would love to get a Dave Dorman cover. But so I guess she would kind of feel that role a little bit of mentor, because she was very instrumental in the first couple of years of me as a professional.
Yeah, and I can remember that.
Yeah,
definitely.
Because she was good to you.
Yes, very much.
She and Dave both. So
very much so.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything, sweet girl, on the okay. So next question is, and again, it just starts with a comment. I want to know how Roland is able to separate his friendships from his work relationships. He's such a great guy, and we're all friends and acquaintances in addition to work relationship.
That's tough. That is tough.
Yeah.
Because they're once you get your friendships and your workships intertwine, then it is tough. I don't know how I do it. I don't know if there's a method, but I try to, like all you do with all friendships, I do try to gauge, at what level does this friend want to do this thing? And that's not always easy to tell. Sometimes, friends will, oh, that sounds cool, we should do that, and they're really just kind of talking. They don't really want to do it. They're just kind of excited.
They're excited in the moment.
Yeah, they're excited in the moment. And then when you get down to it, there's like, okay, well, all right.
Overcommitted.
Yeah. Or I've overcommitted, or, well, I that was excited, but I got to do this, know? And I get that. I think, I always try to keep in mind that there are two things, that there's the personal, and then there's the professional, I guess you could say, the business, is that I'm going to be your friend because I like you. Now, if you commit to this project and you don't do it, I'm going to be mad with you. You're right. I'm going to be mad because you didn't do what you said, but I still like you. Yes. You're still my friend. That doesn't change. Is it going to have some effect? Well, I'm sure there will be a little bit of effect. I'm tempted to use an example, but I'm afraid. I think he would be okay with me saying it, but
well, I think with anything, it's just being able to balance it. And what I can say is, when you're struggling with something like that and something's come up, is that at the end of the day, you handle it and you take care of it in such a manner that it's very professional, but it's on that friend level of, it's heartfelt.
Yeah.
And you don't want to do a disservice to someone to continue to allow them to do something that they've committed to do and they haven't done it.
Right.
And you can recognize in the moment that they've maybe overcommitted, or they thought one thing and yet the reality is it's this thing. And so I think I'm amazed sometimes how you're able to balance all that too, but it works for you.
Yeah.
And I genuinely believe that it's because people know who you are and they appreciate you and they appreciate your honesty and they know that anything that you share with them or to them, that it's not malicious, that it is trying to figure out the best thing for everybody involved.
Yeah. I mean, and I hope that I can be, but I will always try to be as transparent as possible. I try not to make promises that I know that I can't keep.
Right.
We talk about this a lot when we watch
Yes.
TV. No, you can't promise that.
Yeah. What are you doing?
The things that I do promise is that A, we're going to have fun doing this.
Yes.
B, we're going to make a comic. C, I'll get it out. I don't know how many people will buy it. I don't know how I don't know those things. I can't promise those things. And it's really funny because Pete, Clinton, who's doing doing great work with the Champion and his Fury, who we'd kind of talked about this the other day, and I said something, well, I'll never promise anybody to make lots of money. And Pete was like, wait, you told me I was going to make millions. And I'm like, wait, what did I? I think, I think for me, the bottom line is I want to make comics. Yeah. And I would rather make comics with my friends and the people that I like.
Yes.
Because it's a joy for me to do that,
but the work's got to get done.
Yeah, the work's got to get done. That's the thing, is that if you're my friend and you say, hey, let's make a comic, and 8 months later I got a page, well, you don't really want to make a comic then, do you?
Right.
Or you might want to make it, but there's just life that's happening.
Yeah.
And
life happens.
And life happens, and I get it. So but for me, it's like, okay, I still want to be your friend because I like you and you're my friend, but this comic thing, it ain't working, right? Yep. And I want to make a comic, but those are two different things. Yeah. And I try to do that. I don't know that it always works, but I think it does a lot of time.
I agree.
But yeah, it's tough though. It is tough because I value my friendships. I value my friends. And I think those who know me know that I love comics. And I would never want a friendship destroyed because of comics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens, but I would never want that.
I know.
Jesse Hansen says, sorry, and I'm not asking many questions. I'm here enjoying the questions offered already while inking away.
Yay, Jesse. That is a great way to make effective use of your time. Ink while you're listening. But yeah, if you got questions, ask them, fire away.
And then John Martin said, I'm going to have to sit and watch Tommy ink once a day.
I know. Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, I love to watch Tommy ink as well. It's just mesmerizing.
Thanks.
Oh, the stories I can tell and have told about Tommy from when he first started. Yeah, but here's the other thing. It's like okay, for someone like Tommy, for instance, I'll pick on Tommy now. For someone like Tommy, it's because I have known Tommy for so long prior to him even doing any comic book work at all, right? And he and I are friends. It's one of the things that is a joy to me is to talk to a penciler and have a penciler say, can you get Tommy to ink me?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. I can try. I love Tommy and Tommy loves inking and Tommy loves comics. So let's see. But that makes me happy because somebody wants to work with my friend.
Yes.
Yep.
John Martin said, I'm learning by watching.
Yeah. That's again, it's a visual art. It's a visual medium. So you can watch somebody, you can watch what Tommy does and learn all kinds of stuff.
Let's see what he's writing now.
Send dollars. Yeah.
You're so funny.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. When do you crack the web as the editor?
The web or
I'm
whip?
thinking it's whip, but it said web.
Crack the web. I'm thinking that must mean whip.
Whip.
Well, there's that's also a couple of different that's also a couple different answers. Okay, so if I am employed by a corporation that has money and there's a contract and a promise of money and a deadline, that's when I crack the whip. I'm like, look, we have this product, we have to get out, we've got this big machine, this big corporate machine that has to do this. I have to have this on this date in order to do this, in order to do that.
Because by the way, you had an outstanding on-time record.
I have that email somewhere that Malibu at the end, it was the list was put together by Dan Danko of all of the books that shipped by Ultraverse, of all the editors who were on time, how many books they had shipped late, how many books they had shipped. I forget the whole list.
Yeah.
And I won't call out the other editors, but he went through all the list and he got down to me. Roland shipped everything on time.
Yeah.
I guess I just believe that when you make a commitment to consumers, right, and really people who support our products are consumers. I mean that's they're fans, and I kind of consider them family. But in the when you boil it down to it, they're consumers. When you make a promise to consumers, like these Kickstarters, when you say you're giving me this money for this Kickstarter, and I'm going to deliver a product to you, it irritates the fire out of me to see so many professionals, and I mean professionals who've worked in the industry, run a Kickstarter, and 2 years later they're still not delivered on their their work. It's nuts. I don't understand that, and I see fans' reaction, and that's why it's so important to me that when you make this contract with them, you're like, I'm going to do this product, and I'm going to deliver this to you. And I believe that you are morally obligated to do that. And so when I see these other Kickstarters and Indiegogos and they're not delivering, I have this big question, and I don't understand how they do it. Now, the other side of that is when you don't have big corporate backing, how do you crack the whip for something like Silverline? Well, that's a little tougher because we're not operating with that kind of budget, and many of the freelancers have to do something else. We were talking about, I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
Tommy, is a co-owner at Kablam. I mean, Barb is recently retired, of course, but she was an accountant, and these were the jobs that they did in their day that paid their bills, gave them insurance, that allowed them to do these things. So it's a little tougher because we don't have that kind. I can't just call up Barb. Barb, you're fired because you didn't ink this page or whatever. Because what am I going to do? Barb's like, fine, whatever. You are paying me enough anyway, right? So
it's a level of flexibility that has to be present.
Yeah. So this goes back to one of the things I said about Silverline. It's important to me to find people who want to make comics, because when somebody wants to make comics, you don't have to beg them for the work.
They're going to make it happen.
They're going to make it happen. Yeah. Now I look at it as like, I look at someone like, and forgive me if I'm not calling everybody out, but I look at pencilers like C. Michael, and I look at pencilers like Pete Clinton. These guys, they're doing work. They're pumping it out. I haven't had to say, oh, I need a page this week. It's clear to me that these guys want to do work. I think they would be doing work whether they were with Silverline or not. I'm honored that they've chosen Silverline to do this. Now, is Silverline the next step, or just the first step in their career? Possibly, could be so. I'm okay with that if this is what these guys choose to do. I'm just honored that for right now, where they are in their career, they've chosen Silverline to do this thing that they're doing. And so that's, for me, that's what I look for in someone. I look for someone who wants to make comics, someone who's going to be making comics, whether they were involved with Silverline or not. I don't want to have to beg somebody for their work,
Yep, I do, definitely.
Dempsey Blackman said contracts and deadlines are important. The people are the backbone.
Hang on. Dempsey said what?
Dempsey said contracts and deadlines are important. The people are the backbone.
Absolutely right. What's up, Dempsey?
And then Barbara just said, "Wow, I'm fired." And then you have a question from Gabriel Hardman.
Gabriel, what's up, dude?
Roland, did you ever get the book Sand Gears going? Is that something you're still developing?
So for those who, I hope I can say this, Gabriel, because you're big name now and you've been around for a long time. Gabriel was known as Gabriel Gecko back in the days, and Gabriel did he did what, in my opinion, is one of the saddest. There are a couple of sad stories out of Malibu, right? Gabriel did 4 issues of a prototype miniseries called Prototype Turf Wars that never saw print.
Oh, wow.
Gabriel finished all 4 issues. I can't remember how far along the rest of them were done. There's that one, and then there was a sludge story that was drawn by Mitch Bird. That just those are sad stories to me because they were gorgeous works and never got printed. The answer to your question, Gabriel, is yes and no. I thought I had someone to pick up kind of where you and I left off, and we did some work, and then that also fell through. So Sand Gears is still in my filing cabinet of works in progress, but it's kind of taken a back seat to some of this other stuff. But it is definitely something I still would like to pursue. And thank you for sending me those pages that you had done. I think you had done about 12 pages, and you sent me some giant photocopies of those. I appreciate those. I still pull them out and look at them when I'm working on the project because very, very good.
And I think too, with what one of the individuals had commented on about agreements and things like that, one of the things that Silverline is doing, because we've taken a different approach for 3.0, taken a different approach where we literally have been established as a corporation. We are working and moving in that direction to have contracts and agreements and be organized on that side of things. Again, his plate is so full, he needs to be focusing on the talent. So I'm doing that portion of it and pulling it together with him, helping to guide me and direct me and those manners. So Silverline is working really hard to become established as, I'll say it from my perspective, and Roland may have a different vision as far as, well, our vision is about the same, but a different perspective is that I want SilverlineComics to be, if not the top, one of the top independent comic companies ever. I see that. I see his passion. I see the passion of the individuals that are a part of the Silverline team. I see the energy and the motivation, and I want to be able to help move us even more in that direction. And it's exciting. So
yeah.
Gabriel said, "Good to know. Best of luck with everything."
Thank you, Gabriel.
Thank you.
If I can ever get it back going, don't be surprised if you get an email from me that says, "Hey, you want to do a cover?" I might just do that, so don't be surprised. Don't let it catch you off guard.
Well, and then Dempsey said, "What determines which issues will be printed? Will those missing stories ever see the light of day?"
Those from Malibu, no. Those from Malibu are lost to the wind for all of history and eternity. Unfortunately, when Marvel bought Malibu, they had all of that, basically all of that Ultraverse stuff, and once they closed it down, they made the decision to just scrap all of that. So unfortunately, Gabriel's prototype, and he was inked by Stephen Baskerville, which was great. Now that I'm putting it all together, I do remember that Stephen Baskerville had done some inks. I don't know if he finished all of it, but it was a great looking project. And I think Tommy might have inked the Mitch Bird sludge. Tommy, make a note on there. Didn't you ink? Yeah. So, so it's just it's one of those. They're just lost forever to all of history, and I have heard people say, I bought a page off of Mitch from this sludge story. So I guess he's, and I don't blame him. He finally just said, "Hey, I got to get rid of them. Nothing's going to happen." I don't know if Gabriel did the same thing with his prototype pages. Well, actually, Gabriel may. I don't know if those were ever. At the very end, when Marvel shut everything down, obviously I wasn't part of it, so he may or may not have had his pages returned to him. I don't know. What's that?
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. This is a good one. What was it like discovering Thomas Florimonte? Is Thomas Florimonte really as nice of a guy that he seems to be?
Thomas Florimonte is one of my greatest finds. I've told the story so many times of Tommy starting off as inking, and he knows this, so I'm not telling anything that he wouldn't tell you. And the first inks that he did, they weren't very good at all. And but Tommy was this guy who was like he's
motivated.
Well, that's it. And this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. Tommy loves comics.
Yep.
It's clear from Tom when you talk to Tommy, he loves comics. He wants to do comics. He would be if Tommy wasn't doing the stuff or inking Trumps right now, he would be doing well, he might actually be at work, but he would be doing comics, and he does. Tommy does Zomboy, does Little Man So-So. So he is, for me, the prime example of he's going to be making comic books. And so when he was super motivated. He wanted to work in comics. He loved comics. Tommy and I have that we have this. We both love Spider-Man. So we get along really well because of that. We can talk Spider-Man, all day long. Yeah. What was the second part of the question?
It just says, is Tommy Florimonte really as nice of a guy that he seems?
Of course
I can say yes.
That's the reason I hang out with him so much. I can remember. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I remember he is. Yeah, I remember when the kind of the last time he showed up. Not the last time, but one of the last times he showed up at when Stephen Butler and I were roommates. And he brought in the inks and just like, wow, how great this looks now. I don't remember what it was, but I do remember that on the spot, Steven said, "Hey, I've got this thing. Do you want to ink it?"
Mm-hmm.
And to my knowledge, that was Tommy's first kind of professional inking job. Whatever it was, yeah, Steven just handed it to him, and Tommy took it, and that was what he inked, and he just kind of went from there. I don't know if the next thing he did was Cat and Mouse, maybe. I'm not really sure. I know some of his first works, but I don't know exactly what the first ones were.
Has Tommy been interviewed?
Yeah.
Have you? Well,
Yeah.
You're going to have to do another one and then start asking all those kinds of questions.
Owen said the genius of our generation. And then Gabriel said, I think I got the prototype pages back. They're in a box somewhere.
Oh my gosh, Gabriel. If you do have those prototype pages, I know some fans who would be interested in it. If you're interested in getting rid of them, you should go to Facebook and look up Malibu's Ultraverse. There's a big collection of really hardcore Ultraverse fans there. Heck, if nothing else, make some photocopies and sell the photocopies.
Yeah, autograph them.
Yeah, I would actually love to see them too. I've if you get, I know it's not the last thing on your list to do, but I would love to see them again after all these years, because I remember just being madly in love with the stuff. And Gabriel had done, I think, War Machine, I think, at Marvel before. I think that's how he was local too, and he would come. We would have lunch together a couple times. Yeah.
Dempsey said, I checked out your company website. I see the movement. Who built the website? My website needs improvement, for I also want to make comics.
Well, Dempsey is a former Full Sail student, so that I am happy. Dempsey's like, oh, you remember that? No, I absolutely am overjoyed that you want to make comics. So I built a website just using a WordPress template, If you will send me an email, I'll let you know what the template is. I can't recall what it is off the top of my head, but yeah, I built the website using a WordPress template.
Cool. All right. So last question here. So if y'all have questions that's out there on the different platforms, go ahead and send those in, because we're about to wrap the portion of the questions up, and Brittany can share with us what those are. But the last one that we have is, why do you have this underlying obsession with Flash Gordon?
I know who's in that one.
Did you want to be him when you saw it?
John Martin. Yeah. So the answer is probably simpler than what you were expecting. As a teen, junior high and teen, I was a mad Queen fan. I saw them live in 1980 in Memphis, Tennessee. My ears are still ringing from that concert. The loudest concert I have ever been to. Queen opened with, because they were in Memphis, they opened with an Elvis Presley song, and I'll never forget that. I used to have a Queen scrapbook. I've sold that since there, but I had.
You did. I saw the scrapbook.
I had, because it was magazine clippings that
Yes.
I had. Now
concert
tickets,
pictures.
I did keep the concert tickets. I sold the scrapbook, and I told when I sold it, I said, I'm keeping my concert ticket, but they can have everything else that was in it. I had multiple copies of the albums. I had one that I would listen to, and one that was in pristine condition. Then yeah. So I had all of them except for, I had all of them, at least 2 copies of all of them, except for the disco one, Hot Space. But Queen did the soundtrack for that, and once I learned that Queen did the soundtrack, I was like, I was going to the movie. It didn't matter what the movie was. As it happened, I enjoyed the movie quite a bit. I went with my my great high school buddy, Scott Cook, and Scott Cook and I would go out to the reservoir often when we were dateless, and we'd grab Cokes and sticker bars and sit there and just listen to the soundtrack. Just fantastic music, and this is part of the reason why I can quote half the movie. I've watched that thing so many times, had my kids watch it.
And what else is part?
When
daughter's over here doing air guitar.
Playing air guitar. When I got married in 1990, when we got married in 1990, I approached we got married in the church, and I approached the pastor and I said, I've got a version of the wedding march that I would like to use. And I said, it's done by Queen. And he says, before I say yes, I need to listen to it. Yeah. And it's just the wedding march.
It's just instrumental.
But Brian May plays the guitars, and it's very much Brian May guitars and the wedding march. And so she marched down the aisle to Brian May's version of the wedding march.
So yes, it's a big part of our life.
Yeah.
on many different levels. So.
But the first thing that got me there, though, was the music.
Yeah,
it was the Queen music that got me to the movie. And then once I saw the movie, I'm like, okay, this is good. I like this.
Yeah. All right, sweetheart. Any other questions coming up before we move on?
No, but Gabriel said he has scans and we'll send them along.
Oh, cool. Thank you, Gabriel. I appreciate that.
Cool. All right. And more questions may come in or comments come in, sweetie. Just let us know. But Brett, if you'll go ahead and show us the merch of the week. One of the things that we're going to start doing, because we do have a merch store, is that we're going to have a merch item of the week on all of our lives. So it'll change every week, just so that you can get an idea of what we have available in our merch store. And this first item is a mug, a Silverline mug. Buddy, are you able to get
yeah, we don't see it here.
Oh, we don't see it?
No,
okay,
no.
awesome. See, I'm on this end, and usually I'm watching versus the other. So great. Okay, awesome. Yeah. So you can see it. There's the different styles of mugs. There's different options for this even particular mug. It's got the black handle with Silverline written on the outside of it. There's the link where you can go for that. But they have a variety. We have a variety of different colors that you can do, whether it's the inside being red and the handle being red, those kinds of things. So you should go check us out. And if you have something that you'd like to see that we make available, please let us know. You can do that on any of the social media outlets to let us know what you're looking for and what you'd like to have, if that's a particular character or whatever the case may be. Just feel free to give us that feedback. And we'd be happy to take that into consideration and see what we can do. So that's our merch of the week, those mugs, especially with fall coming up. They're going to be awesome for hot cocoa and hot tea and coffee.
And see, I need one. So instead of holding up a fast food place, I can hold up Silverline stuff.
Silverline stuff. Yes, we'll have to do that for you, sweetheart. Mr. Honcho.
John Martin said, Roland's alive.
Roland's alive.
All right.
In his best Voltan voice, I'm sure.
Yes. And when you said that and I saw you,
yeah.
I was like, yeah, you need to dress up at a comic convention. Well, that would be so cool.
We threatened to buy the little gold bra harness for him. Yeah. And he goes, I ain't wearing no golden bra.
That would be really cool, though. All right. So the next thing that we're going to just share with y'all is that we have I do have my favorites. I do have certain books that are my favorites, and not all of them are the hubby's work. I'll have to say one of the most recent ones, Divinity, and I'm just calling out one right now. There's other favorites too, so don't think that there's not. But Divinity, I absolutely love that book, and I love the character, the girl, and especially with the skateboard. I fell in love with that. So the other thing is, our daughter's on the side and she's doing the thumbs down. I'm like, what the heck? Well, yeah. Then she shows me her scar. So she had a skateboard accident 6 months ago and had to have major surgery. But anyway, but I like that.
She's not fond of skateboards.
Yeah, she's not fond of skateboards at all. But the project that he's been working on for quite some time that has come to fruition for me, which is one of my favorites, is Trump's. Yes, look at him. He's sharing the gold metallic cover, which is exclusive and rare for this particular Kickstarter.
You can only get this cover through Kickstarter. Yep. So you have to back the Kickstarter project with this cover in order to get it. It's only going. This is our first time. Alex Gallimore, my collaborator on Cat and Mouse, has been saying, Get us some gold covers, get us some foil covers, get us some. So Tommy and Barry at Kablam work hard to make this happen, and so we've got our first gold foil cover, and I'm very excited about it because it looks very, very good. I'm trying to let it turn it a little bit to get the shine and to get the sheen. But yeah, it looks very good, and I can't wait to see this. Obviously, this is uncut. Or this is just a sheet. It's not on, but once you get it, it'll be on the cover on the comic. So,
and you can see a lot of the covers on the Kickstarter page, but also to have a little more fun with it. Brett's going to do it.
Brett, if you will, just start kind of rotate through cover the Kickstarter. So just go ahead and if you haven't showed them already, go ahead and just kind of leave them up. Show the cover A's, cover B, and just leave them up there for a minute. Let everybody kind of get a peek at them.
But one of the things that we did, we've been having I've been having some fun with it, and I know that not everybody is on TikTok, but you can also see some of the covers and artwork on TikTok if you want to go there. So I've had a lot of fun because what I've tried to do is I've tried to put music with what's actually happening with that particular page, where you can see the progression of going from pencils to being inked to being colored. And so that's a lot of fun if you want to go and check out SilverlineComics is on TikTok. You can go check that out too. So
Tim doesn't TikTok.
yeah.
No, we didn't talk about those, so don't put.
Yeah, but these are some really like the cat and mouse cover. Oh my goodness, that is it just blows me away. I love that.
And that's by Pete and Tommy.
Yeah, y'all just did an amazing job on that. But again, Trump's is just cat and mouse will always be my favorite. And yes, I'm pretty biased by that, because if you didn't know, the very first book that Roland ever did, he proposed to me in it. So,
you know, I'm wondering, Tommy, I got this idea the other day. You think it's possible to take that old color book? You know how Marvel, you've seen these, they take some of these old books and do, I don't remember exactly what they call them, but I see them. It looks like they've just scanned them and then reprinted the scans. Would it be possible to, maybe this is something I should ask later, but I'm just wondering, we take the old color cat and mouse, just scan those in and issue a reprint, facsimile, I think is what they may call them, of the very first color cat and mouse. Anyway, that's just a thought. We'll get back to that later. I'm still working on the omnibus. I got to get the omnibus ready for issue 4, but.
so what's showing right now? Is Brett showing the
Yes, Trump's and,
okay, so continue the covers and everything. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And
he laughed because I think he was gonna unmute himself.
you can unmute yourself, Tommy. And you can see it says Thomas up here, but I will say I've always called Thomas Tommy.
Yeah.
So
I noticed he changed his name on Facebook.
I know. Tommy, yeah, I noticed that too.
Yeah, so you want to have Brett start showing the Kickstarter?
Yeah,
page?
Go ahead, and then you go ahead and do, because I hope that I did Roland's interview.
It was fun.
Good.
It was fun. Some of your questions caught me by surprise. For sure.
But the gang, the Silverline, the Silverline gang helped me pull all these together. So thank y'all so much.
Okay, so the Kickstarter covers are up. I know that Brett says these are up. So yeah, go check out the Kickstarter. We are starting 3 of cat and mouse, which means hopefully you've gotten 1 and you got 2. You can get number 3. If you don't have 1 and 2, you can get 1 and 2 so that you don't miss anything. But we're also we're doing the 2 books together so that you can get cat and mouse, and you can also get Trumps. Trumps is a new project. Obviously, Tommy is inking right there on a page from Trumps, and we got so much. There's just so much. Just go to the page.
Last page.
Yeah, last page.
You're rocking it, Tommy.
Yeah, the 17 said 17. They're out of order. So it is the last page. It's a 40. Trump's is 48 pages. Cat and Mouse is 22. You can get, if you can get just the Kickstarter covers. If you want to get a little more, you can get there's an autograph. If you're a fan of original art, we have so much original art in this thing. I don't think I've ever seen as much original art in a Kickstarter as we've got for this one. Maybe Friar Rush, because Friar Rush had and Bloodline had a lot as well. But we've got so much original art here. If you are a fan of original art and you go to the Kickstarter and you say there's nothing there for me, then you're not really a fan of original art, is all I got to say. You can find penciled pages from Alex for Cat and Mouse. Mm-hmm. You can find penciled pages from Thomas Hedgeland from Trumps. You can find pencil pages from Anthony Pereira from Trumps. You can find inked pages from Trumps by Thomas Florimonte. You can find inked pages from Barb by Barb from Cat and Mouse. There are a couple of penciled. There's just so much. I think Stephen Butler's pencils covered for the issue of Trumps is still up there. I think Alex has a couple of drawings that he did of some DC characters those are available, but I think there's still you can still get commissions. There's still a couple commissions left from Thomas Hedgeland. Still some commissions left for Alex. So if you're a fan of original art, I feel like we're on the PVC, the network. What was it? QVC network, yeah. For the next 30 minutes, you can get this, right? But you must act now. We should actually do that sometime.
We could.
You
Yeah,
know?
that'd be fun.
I have to tell everybody we're doing it so they can get on. For the next 30 minutes, if you pledge now, you'll get this.
MC wants to know where he can get a Silverline t-shirt.
Oh, I'll let you know.
Right there. She's the merch queen.
I'll let you know. How do they need to get in touch with me?
He can. Dempsey, you already have my email, I think. Send me an email, and I'll send you her mail. Yeah. I'll forward it to you.
Well, and I can also give out the Silverline email.
If you can, I can't remember.
I can remember it. It's actually kind of long, but it's a company name: Silverline Publishing LLC @gmail.com. But yeah, if you get it to Roland, he can always forward it to me, and then I can hook you up and let you know. So
Tommy's rejoined us now.
He hasn't already.
I'm back.
Oh, okay, there he
Dude.
is.
I'm sharing a room with somebody else that's doing work.
Yeah. It's funny because in my faculty meeting the other day, there was one of the teachers. She was here, and you could look over her shoulder, and you could see her husband had his headphones on, talking into the computer. They were both having. It was kind of funny
meetings
too.
at the same time.
It's this plague world we live in that's causing us to do things like that. What? Plague world, yeah. So yeah, go back to Kickstarter. You get some beautiful Tommy artwork. You just saw him inking there. And we're still the last I looked, I haven't checked since this morning.
Has Brett gone through the actual page?
We are still a ways from our goal. So when I last saw, we were 80% there. Brittany is looking it up now.
I know. About $700, I think. We're pretty close. We're getting there.
Yeah, we're very close.
Awesome.
I can't do math. I think it's 700.
It's 80% there.
$749. We're $749 away. Yes, if you can put the actual page on the stream.
Yeah, bud.
Just the front part. And then I'll make sure. Oh, you've been dropping the link in, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you got the link there. Go check it out. What? Yeah, do it one more time. You can get the link and go check it out. And as always, if you've got questions or if you see something you're like, because I know someone's emailed me already, hey, I got this level, but I also want this thing here. And
how do I go about doing it?
Yeah, just email me. And
you're going to make a special deal for them.
I'll make a special deal,
There you go.
That's exactly what I did. I've done that twice now. So, yeah, if you want something, I know for the last one, I want to say it was Eric Dotson who often joins us. He's probably working right now. Eric says, I wanted this page and this page because he wanted the pencil version and he wanted the inked version. And so we made that happen for him.
Yeah, there you go, sweetie.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think there are some of the cat and mouse pages that way. I think there's 4 or page 4, page 5. You can get both the pencils and the inks.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
I know there's a couple like that. So
yeah.
So yeah, the thing is, don't be afraid to ask if there's something you want. Just send me a message, and if we can't do it, we can't do it. But ask, and we'll try very hard to do it.
And the thing too for us is that if you can't pledge for whatever reason, the thing that you can do to help us is just share it. Share our post. Share. With your family and friends, whether that's word of mouth or just on social media, the posts that we do, if you just keep sharing it and we help get, you help us get the word out. Because that's one of the challenges of independent comic company is that we rely so much on word of mouth. And
everybody knows a comic book geek. Everybody has a comic book geeky friend. And so share it with your comic book geeky friends.
Well, and these are great stories. These are really, really good stories, and they happen to be. But I can honestly say just the projects, because I've become more and more involved in reading the stories that Silverline that we're putting out, and when I go and I read them, they are really good stories and they flow really well. And so added to that is the amazing artwork and the pencils and the coloring and how the project comes together. This is quality work. So don't trust what I'm saying, but go out there and get one. Yeah, go out there and try one. And also, I think one of the things that you shared that I heard you sharing earlier is that you're bringing back the editors or comments page where
the letter column.
Yeah. It's been a long time since I've read an old comic book that had those.
We had a letter column in issue 2.
Yeah.
And I've already built the letter column for issue 3, so we'll have a letter column in that one as well.
Yeah,
so.
Which is cool, where you can talk about what you like or what you'd like to see and those kinds of things.
Well, and it's like fans, back in the day before all the internet, you could write a letter and then you'd get to see your name in print.
Yeah.
And so that's going to happen for a handful of our fans for Cat and Mouse. So
that's cool.
I know somebody that goes around and collects a book that they have a letter that they wrote. It's an Avenger book. I'm talking about you.
I don't collect those.
Yeah, you do. Every show you go to, you're looking for that book so you can find. How many do you have? You got about 20 of those.
I have about 6 of those. But you're wrong. Every show that I go to that Tom Ropp is there.
Oh, okay. That's what you're going to say. All right.
More books.
Yeah. He finds them for him and brings them to him.
He's like, hey, I found this for you. Here you go.
Thanks, Tom.
I love Tom. Yeah. Every time I see him, it seems like he's got another issue of the Avengers that has my letter in it. I went ahead and framed one. I framed one and put it on the wall. So
that's cool.
Yeah. After having, I figured I had like 5 or 6 of them. I just got the best one and put it up on the wall.
Well, all righty. We are almost like right at the 2-hour mark. So, oh yeah.
It's time to go.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna do it?
So thank y'all for joining us. Share this interview too, because I just think Roland has such a wealth of information, and as you can tell, he's very entertaining, and he surrounds himself by entertaining people like our friend Tommy too.
That's right.
Yay! Oh, we're going to be back on live Wednesday. What is our Wednesday subject? What's the subject for this week?
So Wednesday, the Wednesday Whammers are going to be talking.
Wednesday Wham.
Wednesday Wham.
Or I go wham, 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 wham. There's an echo. There's an echo.
I'll call you guys the Whammers.
The Whammer.
Yeah. They're going to be talking about. So last week we talked about comic to live action adaptations. This week we're going to be talking about comics to animation. So so join the crew Wednesday. They're kind of our part 1. They'll kick us off, and then next Sunday, the Silver Sundays.
You're saying they. I'm part of they. So y'all.
I'm talking to everybody else, not to you.
Oh, I thought we were just having a personal conversation here.
Laughing at him? Yeah, because he's goofy, right? Yeah. So yeah.
Tell Brittany to behave.
Join Tommy and the Wednesday Whammers for them talking about comics to animation, and then on Sunday, the Silver Sunday folks, we're going to talk about the same thing.
And I'm sure I'll be inking some more of something.
Yes.
And of course, if you ever run out, just holler at me.
Oh, I've got some of the new book to start working on.
Yeah. No, that's right. Oh, that's right. I can't wait to see that.
Yep.
Good. All right. Well, until then, remember to make mine silver.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for joining us.
Bye.
Bye-bye.